Okay, yeah, we're dealing with the book of Job. Like we said last week, it's one of the wisdom books, so we're starting down that trail with the wisdom book. So when we finish this series, everybody will know about all the wisdom in the Bible, all the wisdom that lines up in that section of the Bible. Before we get started, though, in your booklet, there's some, in the green part, you have some information in there. It talks about the introduction to the theology, introduction to BCN theology, Black Christian nationalism, theology of second transformation or second reformation. So, there's some talk going around whether, BCN is just a theology, so you can read that at your convenience and you'll have an introduction to what we call BCN theology. Amen. So it won't be any confusion on that.
Make it plain, make it plain.
When you come up here to Black Theology and Bible class, which has been called Black Theology and Bible class for, 50 years. So we're going to give you the unadulterated Black Christian nationalist theology.
Well,
it's not really filtered down or watered down, and we try to give you BCN as we know it, as it has been defined to us by all the group leaders that we trained under, all the Holy Patriarch Jeremiah, Baby Odgman, all the Shrine regional administrators and all that. We train under those brothers and sisters, and that's what we attempt to teach. So the book of Job is part of the writings. The writings, books follow the prophets in the Hebrew Bible, and the Jerusalem Bible is part of the wisdom books, which includes some of the books known as the Apocrypha. Now, we did an Apocrypha section a little while back, so everybody should be familiar with the Apocrypha. But if you're not, the Apocrypha are the hidden, or some call them the missing books of the Bible. They're not really hidden, or you might say they're excluded. They've been excluded from the Bible. So they are available. They're not hidden, so you can't find them. But the book of Job is an interesting book because the dating of the book is, a lot of scholars are split on that. Some scholars say the book was written around the 5th century, sometime during that period, and then others say the book of Job can be almost one of the original books written. And sometimes they lean towards that concept because in the book of Job, it doesn't talk about the laws of Moses. It doesn't talk about any central temple or sanctuary. So, a lot of times scholars might date it prior to those events. And then also they say Job lived a long time. In chapter 42, it talks about how long Job lived. So that kind of gets you in the Genesis era in terms of how the people in Genesis lived a long time, especially the mythological section of that part of the Bible. So Job appears to be written by several sources. The book of Job used several terms for deity. Sometimes it used Yahweh, and sometimes it used God as the creator. So I just want to see if anybody have their thinking caps on today. What sources did we say, because we went over that too a while back, in terms of what sources create the Bible when you start getting into these different names for God or the creator.
Egyptian.
What's that?
Your group of people that you were reading.
Group of people. Say that again.
The group of people that you were involved with.
Okay.
That's where the names come from.
Okay.
Your community.
Okay. All right. The group that you were familiar, the group that you were part of. Anybody else have an idea? That's part of it.
Egyptians.
Egyptians. Oh yeah. We talked about that last week. Some of the Egyptian influences on the Bible. But what I was looking for was you remember the J, the E, the P, and the D that we talked about? Those sources, the J, the E, the P, and the D, those sources kind of break into the Bible. Because if you read books like Genesis, you have like 2 creation stories. So if you start seeing doublets and triplets in the Bible, obviously they've come from different sources, because a biblical writer wouldn't write the same thing twice. So those different sources have weaved themselves into together. And you have the Yahweh's source, the Elah his source, the Deuteronomic source, and the priestly source. They call it the J, the E, the P, and the D. So that's what Job, seems to have some of that involved, because there are several deities that are mentioned, all one deity, all one God, but it does reference different names. So we just wanted to make sure everybody's clear on the sources that went into the Bible. Also, the story of Job is found in the Quran. Do we have any closet or used to be Muslims in here? Because if we did, they could tell you about Job in the Quran. There's also a Babylonian Job. There's also a Job known in the Egyptians' writings called the Protest of the Eloquent Peasant. So there's a lot of different Jobs, and so the stories seem to have been borrowed and adapted to various different communities. But all these stories surround the issue or examine the question of human suffering. Why do people suffer? Why do people come along and you seem to be trying to live a good life, and next thing you know, hardship strikes you? Why does all that happen? You're trying to live a good life, you're trying to worship God, you're trying to read your scriptures, you're trying to treat your brothers and sisters right. Why does that happen? Well, the book of Job tries to answer those type of questions, and it gives some simplistic answers, but we're going to try to get into it a little further today. The book also opens up in the land of Oz, and you got those maps up there, but the land of Oz is thought to be in Edom, which is below the Dead Sea. And they said about in Job, it said Job was an upright man.
Yeah.
He followed the scriptures. He prayed to God. He worshiped God, and he did everything he thought was right by God. And then all of a sudden, the sons of God and the angels come together in some council, and they create this wager to test Job. So you got God over here, and I guess Satan over here, and they get together and they say, we want to test Job.
Well.
And some kind of way, God allows it to happen. He allows Job to be tested, because he said that, Job, he worshiped God. Job believes in God, but he only believes in God at his convenience.
Well.
He only served God because things are going well. And the devil said, I guarantee you, if things don't go his way, he would curse God. He wouldn't believe in God. I said, no, Job's upright. So you go ahead and, give him a test, and let's see. Well, I don't know if anybody, and that happens at least twice in the book of Job. It happens in chapter 1 and in chapter 2. There were two wagers that the devil and God got together and inflicted Job with pain, suffering, and discomfort for some weird kind of reason, other just to see whether he would serve God and serve God alone. Now, I don't know if y'all believe that, or whether that's some theology that you grew up with, that God and the devil talks together and they come up with something. And then I have heard stories where God kicked the devil out of heaven at one time. So the devil was there at one time, but he got kicked out. So now he's in hell. They got kicked out. Something weird. There's a lot of stories in the Bible, I tell you. So this mythological story can be viewed in several different ways, but a lot of times you can say it's a struggle between God, the Creator, and chaos, because things happen. Things happen in your life. You can be going all along your way, and you got your bank account filled up, and you're saving up some money, and bam, your car breaks down. You need a new motor. I had just saved up, and I was going to take me a trip to Africa. Now I got to get a new motor in my car. Everything's off. So it's just stuff happens. Chaos in life. And we have to try to address that. But it's an interesting story in terms of God and the devil talking to each other, creating some kind of wager. But Job is often thought to be many people have heard Job to be a patient brother. They say the patience of Job. But we would say here in Black Theology class that that's a misinterpretation of the Bible. That's a misinterpretation of the story of Job, and it should be more accurately talked about in terms of the suffering of Job. Because all throughout the book of Job, Job is suffering.
Well.
Job has been afflicted with hardship. He's got a lot of discomfort, and he's pleading to God to, why is this happening?
Right.
And everything's going on. That's what most of the book is dealing with. Why is all this hardship coming upon him? So Job is thought to be a patient brother. So I need somebody to read. We're going to read the Bible today because we're going to try to get into Job. And anybody bring their Bible? Okay. Oh, okay. Somebody has a Bible. Somebody came to Bible study. Oh, somebody have it on the phone too. We got these high-tech Bibles. Job 1:21. Somebody read that for me. Help me out.
Job rose and tore his gown and shaved his head. Then falling to the ground, he worshipped and said, "Naked I came from my mother's womb. Naked I shall return.
My Lord.
Yahweh gave, Yahweh has taken back. Blessed be the name of Yahweh."
So Job had went through some stuff. His cattle and all that, his sheep and chickens, all that, whatever he had, his livestock had been taken away from him, and then also his family members got killed in a storm and all that. And Job said, "Naked I come in the world, naked I go out. I'm still going to worship God." You know, so all this is going on, and that's what Job, the story is trying to answer. Why does people suffer? Somebody read Job chapter 2, verse 7.
So went Satan forth from the presence of the Lord, and smote Job with sore boils from the sole of his foot unto his crown.
So Job was inflicted with boils, with what you might say ulcers all over his body, from the top of his head to the bottom of his feet. If I had been high tech like Brother Takuma, I would have had a picture from him with some boils all over his body. But Job had boils all over his body. And then it goes on to say you just sit there and scrape them. Because I guess if you got all these boils, I guess it'd be akin to shingles. I don't know if anybody ever had it. Or when that pain come on you, you need some relief. You got to get some pills, and the scratching don't necessarily help it, but that's just what you're going to have to do. So a lot of that's going on. Job is this wager between God and the devil has allowed Job to be inflicted with boils all over his whole body. Well, I tell you, sometimes you wonder whether God is just if God allows that to happen. Then goes on to say that Job was having this conversation with his wife. His wife is saying, "Hey, this God thing that you believe in, you probably need to, rethink God.
Well.
if this is how you're going to live." So somebody read Job chapter 2, verse 9 through 10. And this is a conversation between him and his wife.
Then his wife said to him, "Do you now still mean to persist in your blamelessness? Curse God and die." That is how foolish women talk. Job replied,
Well,
"That is how foolish women talk." Job.
They told him to curse God. You sound like a foolish woman talking like that. Have mercy. This is Father's Day. But we're not going to go there. I should have said Happy Father's Day to all your brothers in the beginning. But
Thank you, brother.
Happy Father's Day.
Let's finish with the wife.
Okay, you going to figure going?
Yeah, if we take happiness from God's hand, must we now take sorrow too? And in all this misfortune, Job uttered no sinful words.
Well,
Yeah, that's it.
Job was upright. Job was upright. It'd be like, stuff go wrong in the church. Can you still believe in the shrine of the Black Madonna when stuff is not going right? When your group is not working the way you think your group works, can you still be a part of the group?
Well.
You know, can you still, when decisions are made from those in charge that you know are wrong, you know, but you still, you know, can you still have faith?
Well.
You know, so that's what that's what this story of Job is trying to deal with. And then Job goes on with all this suffering, these boils, and he's sitting up, scraping them day and night, and just suffering, just suffering 20. When you have shingles, and I have had them, it's suffering 24/7. It don't stop. Unless you get that medicine and you get that cream, if you don't take that stuff on time, that stuff hits you, it's like blind sign. Boy, you need some relief. You know, so I can imagine what Job was going through if it's from the top of his head to the bottom of his feet.
Well.
My, have mercy. Somebody read Job 3, chapter 3, 1 through 13. So we really trying to set this up, what Job was dealing with and how he really felt. Job chapter 3, verse 1 through 13.
In the end, it was Job who broke the silence and cursed the day of his birth. This is what he said. May the day perish when I was born,
Have mercy.
and the night that told of a boy conceived. May that day be darkness. May God on high have no thought of it. May no light shine on it. May murk and deep shadow claim it for their own. Clouds hang over it. Eclipse swoop down on it. Yes, let the day lay hold of it. To the days of the year, let it be not joined. And to the reckoning of months, not find its way. May that night be dismal. No shout of joy come near it. Let them curse it who curse the day. Who are prepared to rouse Leviathan. Dark be the stars of its morning. Let it wait in vain for light, and never see the opening eyes of dawn. Since it would not shut the doors of the womb on me, to hide sorrow from my eyes. Why did I not die newborn, not perish as I left the womb? Why were there 2 knees to receive me, 2 breasts for me to suck? Had there not been, I should now be lying in peace, wrapped in a restful slumber.
So Job had it bad. He had it bad. Cursed the day I was born. You know, wish my mother's womb had been barren, so I would have never came out. This is the suffering that Job was going through. This is what the book of the writers was trying to write to convey the message. This suffering, you know, why do people suffer? Why is it? And Job goes on to say, I'm suffering. It's so bad that I just wish I could just die. I wish I had never been born. Wow. But that's the way people feel sometimes, and you just go through years of hardship, years of discomfort, and years of not having any joy, not having any peace. A lot of people get to that point. I know a lot of people in the black community, they be wondering, why are we like we are? Why does the situation get to be where it is? Right. But Job had a problem. He felt like he was suffering, and he felt like, why would, God let this happen? Because people say that Job was patient, but when you read that don't sound like a patient brother, does it? He's just saying that this is something that's not right here. I've been praying, I've been reading my scriptures, and I've been trying to serve God, and just look at me. Just look at me. So we go on to another prophet. We had another prophet that had a similar issue like this. There's another question for the group. Can y'all remember another prophet that had a similar feeling about the things that he was going through in his life? I'll help you out.
Help us out, brother. Help us out.
All over.
Jesus. Yeah. When they had him up on that cross.
You want to check out.
Right. Why have God forsaken me?
Jeremiah.
There you go. Jeremiah. You're right. Can you read Jeremiah 20? Verse, since you got it, Jeremiah 20.
No, I didn't go there.
Jeremiah 20, chapter 20, 14 through 18. That's in the prophetic books. But that is right, Jeremiah.
Okay, Jeremiah what?
Jeremiah chapter 20,
Jeremiah,
verse 14 through 18.
give me a second.
That's all right. We have a Bible study today.
13 through 18, correct?
14 through 18.
A curse on the day when I was born.
My Lord.
No blessing on the day my mother bore me. A curse on the man who brought my father the news. A son, a boy has been born to you, making him overjoyed.
Amen. Keep on going.
May this man be like the towns that Yahweh overthrew without mercy. May he hear alarms in the morning, the war cry in broad daylight. Since he did not kill me in the womb, my mother would have been my tomb,
My Lord.
while her womb was swollen with me. Why ever did I come out of the womb to live in toil and sorrow, and to end my days in shame?
My Lord, that's Jeremiah. So, you know, he had a similar experience like Brother Job. But Jeremiah was dealing with a whole different thing. Remember, the Black Nation Israel was all worshiping all these crazy gods, and God had called him to try to get them in line, and, you know, he's getting flack. He's trying to tell them to do right, and they telling Jeremiah, the king's telling them he's crazy because we want to worship. So Jeremiah got to that same point, you know, of this human suffering, this anguish in terms of the what God puts on you sometimes. Sometimes God puts things on you and you just wonder, why am I burdened with all this? Why do I have to come to group meetings every week? Why do I have to come to worship service every Sunday? You know, can I just sit home in my luxury, sit home in my AC and just maybe watch the game sometime? You know, why do I have to keep doing this? You know, people are not going to be right. But Jeremiah went to this same thing. You know, he was dealing with the Black Nation Israel, and they were having a lot of problems. Then you go on to chapter 8, which I don't think is in your outline, but then Job's friends come to talk to Job. And they call them his friends, but you can look at them as the comforter. The comforter tries to come to. He's suffering, he's in pain, life not going right, and his friends come to talk to. Look, Job, you've done something wrong. You must have sinned. You know, you sitting up here with all these boils, all these ulcers all over your body. Look at me. It's not happening to me. Obviously, you've done something wrong with God. And Job said, no, I hadn't done anything with God. I pray to God. I've tried to follow the law, the scriptures, what I thought was right. But his friend just kept telling me, no, you know, God is a merciful God.
Well.
You know, God is a just God. So obviously you've sinned somewhere. And a lot of times we get like that. Be like, you know, my life is not going right. You know, maybe I didn't read my ordinary times enough. Maybe I'm not prayerful enough. You know, why is my life not going in the direction that it should be going in? But they're the biblical writers trying to deal with this human anguish, this suffering that people come across. And that's what they were trying to do. So this comforter comes and talks to Job, and they just try to convince Job that you have to turn away from your wicked ways and you have to serve God. And Job just pleads over and over and over that, no, I have not done wrong. I have not done anything. And so the bitterness just gets so bad that Job just, you know, he comes out, he's talking to his friends, and you can, I need somebody else got another Bible. It's chapter 7, Job chapter 7, 1 through 18. So this just thing has just gotten bitter for Job. I mean, it's just his suffering is getting out of control. That's chapter 7, 1 through 18.
Okay.
Anybody got it?
Yes.
Read it.
Chapter 7.
Chapter 7, 1 through 18.
Is not man's life on earth nothing more than press service His time no better than hired drudgery. Like the slave sighing for the shade, or the workman with no thought but his wages. Months of delusion. I have assigned to me nothing for my own, but nights of grief. Lying in bed, I wonder, when will it be day? Risen, I think how slowly evening comes. Restlessly, I fret till twilight falls. Vermin cover my flesh, and loathsome scabs. My skin is cracked and ooze pulse. Swifter than a weaver's shuttle, my days have passed and vanished, leaving no hope behind. Remember that my life is but a breath, and not my eyes will never again see joy. The eyes that once saw me will look on me no more. Your eyes will turn my way, and I shall not be there. That's it?
Yeah, that's enough. He's just going on and on. You know, Job was just talking. He said about months of delusion. Months of delusion. So he's just talking about this whole thing, and just all going something. And that's what the Job did, was just back and forth with his friend or God, talking about this suffering and everything that he's going through. Then Job finally gets to chapter 10, and he says, and I'll read, this is chapter 10, 1 through 3. Chapter 10, chapter 10, 1 through 3. It says, since I have lost the taste of life, I will give free rein to my complaint.
Well,
I shall let my bitter soul speak out.
well,
And I shall say to God, do not condemn me, but tell me the reason for your assault. Is it right for you to injure me, cheapening my work of your own hands and embedding the scheme of my wicked? And then Job goes on to talk about, and I thought that was chapter 10, but I guess I missed it, but he's talking about Job saying he loathed his life.
well,
He got to a point where I hate the day that I was born. And I thought it was chapter 10, but I missed it. But Job say, I loathe my life. He hates everything about his life. I loathe my life. And we can get like that too sometimes. We can say, I loathe my life. But if you loathe your life, you must loathe the people around you as well. Amen. So if you loathe your life, you loathe your mother.
well,
You loathe your father. And you can go on, and somebody say, I loathe my wife.
well,
And my wife might get over there and say, I loathe my husband. But then he goes on, I loathe my children. You know, they don't do what they're supposed to do. Some of them want to wear natural, others want to wear straight hair. You know, I loathe the community I'm in. You know, trash, black people don't cut the grass, and the stores are not good. I loathe my life. I loathe my neighbors. I got bars on my house. Who are those bars for? Those bars not for white people. Those are for black people to keep them out. I loathe everything about it. Then we can go even further and say, I loathe my group. You know, sometimes my group didn't do stuff. I don't know what she's doing. You know, my team leaders never call me. You know, let's want some money. I love my team. What's going on? Then we go on and say, you know, I love my shrine administrator. What is she talking about? She come around and seems like she don't want to administrate one group. She's supposed to be administrating the whole church. Then he says, I loathe my group coordinators. We got the same group leaders running around here doing almost nothing for years, and they can't make a change. I loathe my group coordinator. Then somebody might say, I loathe my pastor. I loathe him. I don't know what he's doing sometimes. I don't know where he gets his calling or where he gets his following. So we loathe you, but if you loathe your life, you're going to loathe everybody around you.
well,
You have Brother Castile that got shot in the car up there in Minnesota. Your sister had it on Facebook Live.
Right.
Everybody saw it. Everybody knew the police was wrong. He knew he was wrong, but they let him off.
Right.
Acquitted on all charges. I bet their family say, I loathe my life. How could this happen?
Well.
Then we get on to talking about why does all this suffering happen to black people? What happened? Who put us in this fix?
Well.
Why are we in the fix that we're in?
Yeah.
Somebody got us in the fix.
Well.
You remember we was in the motherland, Africa, in our village, minding our own business.
Well.
And then living our life, farming, doing whatever we do. Next thing you know, slavery done put chains on us.
Well.
They got chains on it. They chained me up, changed my sister up, killed my father, killed my mother, and I'm on chains, marching me to the coast.
Well.
Marching me to the coast.
Well.
Weeks, miles to the coast to wait for the slave ship.
Well.
They didn't have cell phones then, so the slave ship had to come when it got there.
Well.
So they sitting in the cell block for
Well,
months,
bring it home.
weeks on time. Then we get on we would get in the Middle Passage, and in the Middle Passage,
Well.
there was no sanitary facility.
Yeah.
So you chained on the Middle Passage in the boat, chained together with your brothers and sisters for weeks. It took weeks, months to get over here to the Americas to be put into slavery. No sanitary facilities. We have to all recognize the pain and the anguish that our people have gone through, and a lot of that's been passed down through the moon. That all that happened to us.
Well.
You can't stand to be in the bathroom by yourself sometimes, let alone with other people for weeks at a time.
Well.
Then we go on to get on the auction block, and they set us up there and went through us like we were a piece of cattle, a piece of property.
Well.
Looking at your teeth, looking at your
All right.
looking at your buttocks and all that, trying to see if you were going to be a good slave. All this is happening. All this happened to black people, our brothers and sisters, and we're a product of those. Then we got on the plantation, just grueling work, sun up to sun down, never ending, non-stop work, on and on and on.
My Lord.
Come on, Christian.
All right, drink that water.
Then they said that you can no longer do slavery no more.
Wow.
So then he give us the brothers some sisters. And then he said, well, we want you to breed,
Wow.
have some kids so I can get me some more slaves. So he was the brother's wife. But the slave master wanted to come and get her too.
Well.
He could come and get her when he wanted her.
Uh-huh.
So that was his wife, she was my wife, and she was also his, because he could come and get her and make use of her whenever he wanted to. This is the problem that we have.
Well.
This is what we've gone through as a people. So you want to know why does black people suffer? We suffer because of this Holocaust that we've been through.
Well.
Now somebody else might have another reason why we suffer, but the basis of the whole thing is the Holocaust that we've been through, and we have not been able to overcome that experience.
Well.
That stuff is passed down through the womb. You wake up in the morning and you just feel bad because you're black.
Well.
That's the experience of the Holocaust.
Tell the truth.
So all this is going on, and we have to struggle to fight against that. And that's why we come into the Pan-African Orthodox Christian Church,
Well.
to be alleviated from that type of suffering.
That's
To
right.
be alleviated from that type of thinking. Because on that plantation, we were all brainwashed.
Well.
We were brainwashed to despise our brothers and sisters. We despise one another. So we say we loathe our life, and we also despise one another.
Well.
When he was standing there on chains, and chains on the slave block, he said, I loathe my life. How did I get here? And where do I go from here? So in the Pan-African Orthodox Christian Church, we try to jump over 400 years of oppression to try to help black people get their minds fixed so where they can be righteous brothers and sisters.
All right.
So I submit to you today, don't loathe your life.
Well.
Find joy in this struggle.
That's right.
Find joy. This is a labor of love.
There you go.
You might not get many levels or more accolades, but you just keep struggling.
That's right.
This is a labor of love,
All
and
right.
it doesn't stop.
Well.
It goes on and on.
Well,
from one generation to the next.
that's right.
This is a monumentous task that we've tried to undertake, building a black nation.
That's right.
It's a difficult task. And we know it ain't easy.
Right.
We know it wasn't easy. Jeremiah called us into the shrine. He said, this is a difficult task. Are you up to it though? Are you fit? Can you serve your people?
Well,
Can you serve your brothers and sisters?
That's
Can
right.
you help get them out of this fix that we're in?
Yeah.
We're still in the fix.
That's
This
right.
is 2017 and it's still a fix. And we got to get out of that fix. And how do we get out of this fix?
well,
We get out of this fix by loving our brothers and sisters. You see your brothers and sisters, don't despise them.
well,
You know, just try to love them. We do things wrong sometimes, but go the extra mile with them. Turn the other cheek if necessary.
That's right.
For your brother and sister. You know, not all these other people that they told you to turn
Yeah.
So we're gonna wrap up. We're gonna wrap up as I'm losing. I'm sure the guys, he gonna read this last part for us. And this is an excerpt from one of Carter Sunday's books. Brother DeMoney gave me this book, and y'all to read it sometime. You can get a copy of it. That's just some interesting stuff in there.
all right.
So deficient is our race knowledge of and identification with our native land that our children often lose the battle for healthy identity formation as they advance into adulthood. This contrasts with those ethnic groups who freely give claim to their connection to a mother or father country. Though transported to America, they either find a construct that means to reinforce their culture, language, solidarity. Our transport to America, unlike theirs, was brutal, a result of force and intensely violent enslavement, in which blackness and Africa were rebel. So fierce was the denunciation of blackness that now, many generations since our emancipation, African Americans are still reluctant to own up to their African connection, often claiming color does not matter. Some are even repulsed by such a linkage. Consequently, our youth, and not surprisingly, often attach their identity to the American designer's name on their shoes, jeans, and jackets, rather than the local, national, and global levelment of franchisement, unification, and economic power of black people. Connections remembered and easy to use guide through the African past. Cardinal Sondai and Cardinal Lindiwe Lester.
Right there.
The money has that book. It's not many of those circulating, but I know the money has it. So if you want to just read that book, ask him to loan it to you. But that's what's happening. We don't connect to each other. We despise one another, and we don't identify with our brothers and sisters, and we can't come together to build economic power for black people. And we have to work on that. Brother Karaoke, he's doing some good work trying to get a lot of brothers and sisters into college.
That's
so
right.
they're trying to learn and do the things that they need to pass the SAT and the ACT. Are you doing a successful job with those brothers and sisters, Karaoke?
Yes.
We had about 50 of them over here the other day. 49, trying to save 49 brothers and sisters.
There you go. That's what it's about.
I know you tell them about BCN too, right?
BCN is still the answer.
Amen. Well, that's Brother Joe, but I just plead with you, brothers and sisters, don't adopt Joe's thinking that you loathe your life.
Well.
And despise your brothers and sisters. Let's love one another and let's do God's will.
All right.